Greetings, blessings to all. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and today we have created and uploaded this hopefully short video about a book that was recommended to us titled Maori Symbolism by Ettie Rout. It's attested as fact according to New Zealand Maori Origins of History by a tohunga or mystic, Hohepa te Rake, or Joseph te Rake. Due to lots of comments posted us about a certain video we created and uploaded a while back about an author who wrote claiming that the Greeks and the Egyptians first discovered and settled in New Zealand, or Aotearoa, before the indigenous Maori. So here is an extract of that book they recommended, yet admittedly cherry-picked, and they hadn't read it in full. So we found it online and we are reading it in our spare time, our downtime. And this is page 14 onward, as suggested by a particular person. And we're going to start with, we'll start at this part. Mr. R.N. Salaman, whoever that was, discussing the inheritance of facial types before the same section, contended that the perfect Greek type of face was now to be found among people of Jewish blood. Examples of the straight line of forehead and nose could be found in the Jewish schools, preferably in the East End of London. Out of 500 children, there 12 would be found who possessed the perfect classic type of face. Jews he divided into three facial types: the Armenoid with the round head, hooked nose and small mouth, the Semitic with the long straight nose, big mouth and thick lips, and the pseudo-Nordic with the small features, nose and brow, often in a continuous line, and well-developed chin. When a Jew mated with a woman of the Nordic race, the Nordic characteristics usually overcame the Jewish strain. It may be a useful conclusion to this chapter to summarise the Maori traditions of their descent and migration, or their origins and their journey, their migration, i.e. to the land of New Zealand. They hold that the truth of their legends, myths, is proved by the following system of crests. They hold that the truth of their legends is proved by the following system of crests and signs, which were in use in the days of ancient Assyria and can still be traced wherever the Maori have been. The crests of the 12 nations in Assyria were as follows: 3 reptiles, ngā rara, crawling creatures; turtle, tuatara; eel, tuna; serpent, taniwha; 3 fishes, ika, swimming creatures, creatures of the water; mermaid, ika in the sense meaning an amphibian; whale, ika nui, big fish; ika iti, small fish; 3 beasts, kuri, land creatures; lion, kuri, quadrumana or toa, strong brave animal; dog, kuri iti, long narrow animal; bull or unicorn, kuri nui, a large horned animal, possibly rhinoceros; 3 birds, manu, dove or pigeon; manu karere or ma; plover, manu ka, the edible bird; eagle, manu nui, the large bird. In addition to these crests, the Maori had the 3 signs of the house of Ihi-Ra, Iwi, Israel, or the children of God. These signs were the sun, Ra, so these Israelites probably got it from the Egyptians; the moon and the heavenly bodies, Te Aopo, or Aopo, and the earth, Te Papa. The sun was the divine creator, the moon was the great spirit, and the earth was the god of nature. So the Maori were like the children of the sun, the children of heaven, and the children of man. These 3 made the Trinity, represented by the 3 fingers seen on Maori carvings, indicating intellect, character and physique. The direct The different nations or houses were organised and reformed many times, hence where any considerable numbers of Maori migrated or established themselves, representatives of many different crests would be found. The sacred legends say that while many members of the House of the Bull went to Mexico, some dropped out while crossing Europe and thus may have travelled even farther afield. Yeah, we found through research that the Naga or some people like that, black people or whatever, attacked Indians, and they ran and they sailed over to Mexico and then went down to South America and then went into the Pacific regions. They didn't come the other way from Taiwan and down as claimed. That all the voyagers to New Zealand were members of one house is definitely proved by the fact that they all have the same crest, the turtle. As already stated, all the members of the 10 nations did not migrate from Assyria to Portugal in the west. Certain parties remained in the various countries through which the migrants passed, and the subsequent migrations with the consequent intermarriages scattered those sections of the brown Maori in many directions. But the main body of each nation can be definitely traced by the crest and signs. The 2 nations which remained, they stayed in Assyria, were the mermaid and the plover. 10 nations migrating being the turtle, the serpent, the eel, the fish, the whale, the lion, the dog, the bull, the dove, and the eagle. The 3 nations which fell out en route were the whale, the lion, and the eagle, leaving 5 nations to go to Mexico: the turtle, the fish, the dog, the bull, and the dove. To these must be added women from the eel and serpent nations. Of all these, as already mentioned, only the turtle, or Arawa, nation reached New Zealand. It's from the Assyrians, right? There are others that reached there as well, but it's talking about this Assyrian or Arawa tribe nation reached New Zealand. The traditional descent of the Arawa Maori is from Ihaka, Isaac, who was the son of Aperahama, Abraham, and the son of Ihaka was Hakopa, Jacob, from whom came the 12 houses of Ihira Iwi. The word Iwi means literally the ribs of a house or of a man, etc. Therefore, Iwi means the people. Maybe today it means they're referring to the tribe. What tribe are you from? What Iwi? Ihira is obviously Israel, and Ihira Iwi is obviously the Israelites. Ra in Maori means the sun, or the sun god, or god, and Ihi in Maori means the origin or the source. Thus, the term Ihira Iwi means the people of the sun god or the people of God. The earthly country from which these people came was called Ihiria, Assyria, which is an abbreviation of Ihira Iwi. An alternative spelling of Ihiria, insisted upon by some of the Maori nobles, is Ihirai. The following extract from Morris Fisserberg's The Jews, a Study of Race and Environment, throws an interesting light on this legend of the migration across Europe and the Assyrian origin. Historical evidence goes to show that there were already Jews in South Russia before the destruction of the temple. This has been attested by inscriptions unearthed in various parts of the northern shore of the Black Sea. That's why those 96% of Jews in Israel have hooked noses, because they are of Khazarian descent or Russian descent, that area, because it was formerly Russia. Now it's formerly Khazaria before, and a powerful nation, savage, etc., before that landmass became Russia. This has been attested by inscriptions unearthed in various parts of the northern shore of the Black Sea. They are said to have come thither mostly from the Byzantine Empire and also from the Caucasus Mountains. In the latter country they had been even before the present era, and there is considerable evidence showing that many Jews have migrated from the Caucasus to South Russia. This puts a completely different aspect on the question of the origin of the Jewish types met with in Eastern Europe. There remains yet to be described another group of Jews, the Karaites, who, though they are considered only partly Jews, yet claim that they are the real descendants of the ancient Hebrews. These people are now found mostly in Russia, while small colonies are also found in Galicia, Turkey, and Egypt. They are followers of pure Mosaism, or Moses, right? All that to do with idealisms, all that to do with Moses, Mosaic laws, etc., and do not consider the Talmud as authoritative. The founder of this sect was one Anan, who lived at the end of the 8th century. They were at first called Ananites, but later adopted the name Karaites. The New Zealand Maori also had the name Kara'ite, the Maori equivalent of our Christ. Ehu Karaiti in Maori is Jesus Christ. Yeah, they have ariki, etc., but it's not, as they say, te ariki, or the Christ in their prayers. It's not actually Christ, it's a Maori-based God. That's what we found in our research. It will be useful to tabulate here the Maori scheme of historical reckoning, working on a system of jubilees of 50 years instead of the generation system explained on page 3. From Assyria to Mexico, about 6 jubilees, 6 years, 3,000. In Mexico, 44 to 2,200. From Mexico to Peru and in Persia, it's Peru. 37, 1,850. From Peru to New Zealand, 300. In New Zealand, 25, 1,250. Just 11 jubilees. Well, look at it, 5,900. We came across a video by a Maori lady who had a DNA test. She had red hair and all this sort of stuff, and she found that she was actually from Persia through her DNA, and either she or someone else discovered that the Nagas had attacked the Indians of India, and they fled, got on their boats and went to Mexico, migrated down to South America, and then after a while hit the Pacific Ocean, Pacific regions. But they weren't coming from the opposite side, from Taiwan, etc., etc., as claimed. Very interesting video. To this total must be added the 40 jubilees, or 700 years, reckoned by the Maori to have elapsed during their journey from Assyria to Egypt and back. The sacred legends cover this period in much the same way as the Hebrew scriptures, but the Maori believes that the translators and compilers of the Old Testament furnished inadequate calculations and histories for the period from the first man to Israel, and entirely omitted calculations and histories for the period of evolution prior to the first man, that is, for the period of the ancestral people and their progenitors. The Maori sacred legends state that the period from Neo, the first man, to Hohepa, Jacob, was about 243 jubilees, 12,150 years. Prior to this, there were 3 stages of unknown length, which were briefly stated as follows: 1, from the first man back to the dog and the bird; 2, from the dog and the bird back to the fish and the serpent; 3, from the fish and the serpent back to the reptile. The tuatara lizard was taken as representative of the reptile, the oldest stage, but it was not supposed that the tuatara was actually the first creature. Thus, history of civilization, according to the Maori sacred legends, can be divided into 2 main eras. First man to Israel, years 12,150. Migration from Assyria to the present time, 6,630, and a total of 18,780. That is, the Maori legends carry us back about 17,000 years BC, so far as civilization is concerned. Prior to civilization, the Maori scientists hypothetically estimated time as follows. And it's all here. The date of the birth of civilization in the Maori sacred legends is reckoned approximately 18,000 to 20,000 years ago, and the place was Assyria. These ancient Maori calculations may be usefully compared with the table published in the Outline of History. That's H.G. Wells, because this lady, Ettie Rout, had a friendship with H.G. Wells, the author of War of the Worlds, The Time Machine, etc. We have that book, The Outline of History. It's a very, very old book that we picked up when books were being thrown out at a certain job that we were at. So we saw that one because it's the biggest, so I picked it up. Wow, brilliant book. Still have it here somewhere. And here's the table published in The Outline of History. According to the Maori sacred legends, the pyramids were built about 4,400 BC. That's what Stacey tried to say, that God had finished creating the earth and everything on it around 4,000 BC. But many have stated, well, that can't be right if the prototype Egyptian mounds were 2,000 years were around in about 2000 BC or something like that. Yeah, so that's impossible. His calculations are wrong, and apparently gave an actual date, a day of the week, a month of the year, and the actual year, and supposedly 4000 BC. Okay, this part here is health and race and culture. We're not too sure if that's got anything about Maori people in there. Oh, okay, here's all these pictures here. And bodily pride, which we will cover in part 2, because you have to be somewhere else at this point. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel, give us a like, add your comments down below, and share this all with all your friends and family out there who might happen to be Maori, or friends of yours that are Maori, etc. They may be interested in this history to find the real origins where they were from.